Mr. Fred Agbaje joins us now. He's a legal practitioner to give us his perspective on that court judgment. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you so much.
Well, yes, indeed, we did look at this matter ever since it broke and then continuing again today. But what do you think of this judgment in the first place?
No, first and foremost, I have to laud the judiciary again. They have done well. We play by the rule. It's only the politician that are refusing to toe the path of sanity. While the politicians are losing their head, we in the judiciary, we must keep our head. Because one misjudgment can cause havoc in the entire system. And that's why judges must be commended. And I actually commend the Honorable Justice Adeniyi Ademola, who was with us in practice before he opted for the other side of the divide. It's not another thing. He has done his work. The way is expected as a judge. Look at the law, the way it was presented to him. But again, the federal government must also be commended for the quick implementation. This is the first time you will see me laud the federal government. I applaud the federal government because for federal government to say a particular judgment be implemented immediately. Oh, wow.
No, isn't that what the court ruled?
Yes, but most times.
And it was pending an appeal.
Oh, pending an appeal. You have not seen the copy of the appeal. I have not seen it, or the motion for stay. In most cases, you see why I commended the federal government is because this is a radical departure from the hitherto situation, where after a judgment has been given black and white, and then government agents start looking for loopholes not to obey it. I'm talking from hindsight. I remember vividly last year, June, when the same Federal High Court gave judgment in respect of Fresh Democratic Party, where the Federal High Court nullified the deregistration of Fresh Democratic Party. For 1 good year, INEC and federal government refused to obey that judgment. Only about 2 months ago, after 1 year, we got a motion for stay and then the notice of appeal.
And nobody went to court for contempt?
They said, to go to court for contempt because we knew what we were going to meet. Not that they had any substance, or they had any substance that we use against us, but we were worried that, look, we don't want to shoot ourselves on the leg because Anambra election was coming up. We thought they would allow us to participate, allow our client to participate in the Anambra election. They didn't. Ekiti came, the same mentality was displayed to the Osun one. We didn't know all along they had their motives. Only for us to get a motion asking that they are going to court of appeal after depriving the beneficiary of that judgment the fruit of their hard-won victory for 1 year. That is justice for you in this country. So when the issue of Adamawa came up and we saw the reaction of the same federal government that was joining the Fresh Democratic Party that refused to obey, the same federal government now, 360-degree U-turn and say, oh, swear in. Maybe.
What does that suggest?
This selective implementation of judgment is not good for the development of the rule of law. I am not saying you don't have the right of appeal. The constitutional right of appeal vested in every Nigeria, you cannot detract from it. But you cannot use that provisions of the law, your right of appeal, and you say you want to deprive the beneficiary of a judgment. In as much as you have filed your notice of appeal, you quickly follow it up with a motion for stay. You can use that to say to tie the hand. But when you have not done that, for goodness sake, you have no reason whatsoever under the sun not to implement that judgment. And that's why I laud the federal government. And I hope that by the time the Court of Appeal is now opportune to deliberate more on this issue, the better for the development of the rule of law and the principle of constitutionalism. But that is how far I can go on that judgment, that look, I commend the judge for what he has done. But I might not be agreeable, and I repeat, I might not be agreeable to that judgment.
Why?
Of course. Thank you. You see, it is easy when I listen to so many Nigerians, including my colleague, come to say, well, Section 306 is very clear, particularly subsection 5 for 306. The man did not properly resign. He did not send his letter of resignation to the governor who was yet to be impeached at that time. The governor was still there and the rest of them. Law, as most of us have come to know, does not act in abstract, or what we call in the air. You must relate the provision of any law, legislation, principle of law, to the facts of each case. In other words, the peculiarity of each case will determine the applicability of the principle of law and the interpretation to be given. You cannot take hook, line, and sinker the principle of law established in one case and use it as a statute of general application for all other cases without relating it, just a minute, without relating to the facts before you. What were the facts in cause? The deputy governor, there was an impeachment proceeding in place against the two, the governor and the deputy. The deputy governor, in an attempt to evade that tag of being an impeached deputy governor, saw the handwriting coming, and he knew there was no way he was going to escape it. He wrote his own letter of resignation in his own handwriting, which was not denied, till tomorrow, and gave it, instead of giving it to the same people you said he was still in existence, the governor, he chose to give it to the speaker.
Who was it addressed to?
It was addressed to the speaker. What we were made to understand when the whole hula baloo started was that a gun was put at his head, the deputy governor said, to sign that letter. But from later scenario, we got to discover that it was nothing like that. That the man even wrote 2 letters. And later I'm even hearing that he even wrote 3 letters of resignation. One to the governor that could not be seen, the governor that have disappeared from the hemisphere, and some people say they saw him walking the streets of Paris.
Was this
and
before?
Yet you still want him.
This second part that you spoke about,
yes,
the 2 letters, do you think it was before the court? Before this judgment was given?
Of course, we have not seen that. But that was the fact that has been presented to me that, look, the man did not even write 1 letter, he wrote 2. 1 for the governor that could not be found, and 1 for the speaker. Are you telling me that? That's why I say I look at law at times and the way we apply it. It's funny. Now, the Constitution is very clear as to who you submit your letter to. A deputy governor and a lawyer choose in his own handwriting. So I don't want to be one of those victims of impeachment. Tendered it. It's not that the deputy governor did not know what he was doing. He knew that this person I'm submitting my letter of resignation to is not competent. But where I quarrel with the whole scenario is this: why would such a person at that high level be allowed to benefit from his own wrong?
Which person? The deputy or governor, the speaker?
Both of them must never be allowed to benefit. When we are talking about sanity in the system, this is how we should start it. But
you say you disagree with this judgment, and based on the priors before the courts, and you can correct us if we're wrong, Section 306 was the key thing here.
Yes.
The rightness, or the verdict here did say that they did not comply strictly with the provisions of this removal, wherein his letter
was not given to the governor.
It was not given to the governor.
Let me ask you this question.
Addressed to the speaker. That's what was before the court. We must not run away from this fact. The court ruled based on this.
Yes, that was the basis of the court ruling that look, the letter was wrongly channeled. Was there an intention that the man wanted to resign? Did he manifest it? That intention that he wanted to resign. We must not run away from the intention of the parties and then begin to look for loopholes, technicalities. I'm aware that the Constitution says you must submit your letter to the governor. But we are saying, where was the governor?
How does that manifestation come into place now? Because
where was the governor?
We really don't have the powers to see the intention now. So how do you now say he had no intention to resign?
Yeah, I didn't say he didn't have intention. What was his intention as at the time he submitted the letter of resignation? Did he actually intend to resign, or was it just fooling the entire people of Adamawa State?
We think that will be definitely the question. So, as you rightly said, law doesn't act in a vacuum.
Yes.
It acts, based on something. Can we totally remove politics from this? A lot of
No,
people
you cannot.
Let me quickly land on that
Yes.
question. A lot of people say you cannot. It's like a game of chess. It would
Yes.
seem that the deputy governor knew he was in a bind,
Yes.
and so, as someone was putting it here, exploited the loopholes within the law to be able to, save himself from a situation that looks like he was going to lose anyway.
Suppose he refused to resign. He even refuses to even write that letter.
Window of
I
law.
said, well, I'm not going to resign, no matter the pressure.
What,
You must swear me in as
What it
as
was-
the acting governor or the governor after the impeachment.
It was
But this was not done.
It would seem that the threat of impeachment was hanging over him,
Yes.
and his principal as well.
Yeah, so he doesn't want that tag. He doesn't want that tag of being described as a former impeached deputy governor. And that was why he wrote that letter and chose and said, look, let me send them on the white Gucci for a deputy governor to do such a thing. What morals are we preaching? I'm not saying what the judge did was wrong. It was the fact that we presented before the judge. But we cannot run away from the surrounding circumstances. Law is no longer an us. The fact that effigy, that woman standing in front of the court, that effigy, and he has some handkerchief tied around the side, does not mean that woman is blind. He sees.